And Mr. Khalaf, how do you assess the impact of the Israeli policies on this, on the status of humanitarian aid in Gaza, particularly regarding medical supplies, as you allude to, and also access to food as well?
If you could repeat the question, I couldn't hear you well, sir.
Yeah, what I was asking was, there have been obstructions. We're hearing that there have been obstructions, and Israeli policies are impacting the access to food and medical supplies. Could you comment on that?
Yeah, well, look, what's happening in Gaza. Let me talk about it. Prior to the war, in Gaza used to go into the strip, into the Gaza Strip, no less than 500 trucks of aid and but also commercial trucks. Now, before all of this destruction and before all the war and before all what we were seeing in TV reports and reading through different media outlets. Now, and since the beginning of the war, 2 weeks actually after the beginning of the war, when the Israeli authorities started allowing some aid to go into. Now, if you take all of the number of the aid trucks that went into Gaza, since the 21st of October 2023 and divide that by the total number of the days of the war, you're talking about no more than probably 50 trucks on average going in comparison to 500 per day prior to the war. And you only wish that at least, okay, well, 50, maybe 50 food or 50 that are full of drinking water or what have you? Well, the answer is actually it's not like that. Sometimes you have 50 trucks going in one day. Sometimes there are 4, maybe 5 days with no trucks whatsoever. And then sometimes you have 120 or 150 trucks going allowed into Gaza. Not all are loaded with food or what is the top priority. Sometimes they are loaded with pots and plates. Sometimes they are loaded with wood and coal. So it's not sustainable. It's not like it's done on ad hoc basis, not on basis of the priority list that are provided by the humanitarian organizations that are working on the ground in Gaza, which causes more suffering. Even the humanitarian response there on the ground is in Gaza is not sustained in terms of I'm talking about a meaningful humanitarian response. There are, the rules, the conditions, the foundations that should be there for a meaningful humanitarian response. None of them are in Gaza. The telecommunication network, sometimes it's available, sometimes it's not. Roads are destroyed. Fuel, of course, is lacking. There's a lot of scarcity in fuel. Enough trucks are not there in Gaza. Not everything enters in Gaza according to the list provided by the humanitarian experts, and so on and so on. And on top of all of that, the bombardment continues. People, especially in the north now, since almost a month, are asked to move towards the south, maybe the center of the Gaza Strip, to Al-Mawasi area, which is, to be honest, very sad, because Al-Mawasi area represents no more than 3% of the total space of the Gaza Strip. In normal circumstances, in Al-Mawasi area, there are around 10,000 people, 9,000 people living there. Now you're talking about 730,000 people already in Al-Mawasi, and hundreds of thousands more in north of Gaza are asked to move south, as in go to the so-called, quote unquote, the safe areas of Al-Mawasi. So even what the civilians are being asked to do is really unfathomable. Some of them, they go, they are displaced. I have a friend that has been displaced. He told me 19 times I was displaced in northern Gaza Strip simply because he chose not to leave his house. So that's the problem. The problem is that you either leave or you are actually at risk of being killed, which goes against the humanitarian international law, because you're supposed to be given what keeps you alive and safe, whether you choose to leave or to stay.